All right, I think now's a good time to get started. For those of you who don't know, my name is Chris Gilmore. I'm an account executive here at External, so welcome to today's webinar on customer loyalty. Looks like we have a pretty good turnout. Somebody was logged in here as early as 20 minutes ago, so they are going to be really disappointed in about 30 minutes. Self-deprecating humor out of the way. Let's just dive right in. So the goal today is to kind of educate everybody who is seeing customer loyalty for the first time, and hopefully to point out some new features and functionality that existing loyalty users may not be aware of. So what I like to do is kind of work backwards, pose some common questions that I hear about the feature, and then kind of go from there. We'll take a look at everything in the wild, in the store, and then in the back-end system as well. So first things first, what is loyalty? And in essence, it is it is a point-based reward system to kind of recognize customers for their repeated and continuous business. It's an effective conversion tool for not only new customers, but it also acts as one that's really effective at retaining and remarketing existing customers. It's highly configurable, to meet your earning goals, as well as things like time windows, which we'll see, as well as different redemption strategies. The ability to create or calculate rather earning rewards and kind of what those translate to in terms of redeemable dollars on the flip side, which is the mentality customers look at. They don't care so much about points, but rather what does this mean to me on the redemption side. So during my homework, I actually found a really powerful quote here from a pretty reputable e-commerce executive, in this sort of industry, and it is loyalty programs are proven to increase customer lifetime value by up to 30% or more by increasing visit frequency, increasing spend per visit, and winning back lost customers. 30% is not a small number, so that speaks to what we're going to talk about today. So a couple common questions that I hear about, from my clients, what their customers might ask. So first and foremost, where do my customers see their point total? How can they redeem their points? Where can buyers learn about the loyalty earning process? And one thing that I'll kind of hit home on a bunch of times today is that this initiative is only effective as people are aware of it. So we're going to talk about visibility a lot, namely where they can learn about how the process works. Will customers know if some products carry more weight in points than others? So moving on to the answers. Loyalty points are going to be visible in the cart, of course the always on screen cart at all points at time. So there should be no uncertainty as to how many points I have, what my balance is. Points can be applied both while shopping, during the shopping process, much like a coupon can be, as well as at checkout, not unlike the way a gift certificate would work. It's cash in hand that I'm putting toward the order as a payment method. The loyalty program can be outlined in either an article or any non-external page that you wanted to kind of mock up with customer-facing language. You'll be able to point people in the direction of that link. Therefore, people can kind of read and learn more about how the program works, and we'll see that firsthand as well. Products that have been assigned their own individual earnings ratio can display that information in several places. And what I mean by that, we'll go through the process through which we set up kind of the global earnings rules, but certain products can be weighted differently than others, and we'll be able to display that to customers if and when they navigate to that category. Okay, a couple tidbits, just some preemptive screenshots here of what things look like from the consumer's perspective. Here's a little screenshot of the shopping cart itself where my point total is going to be visible. Here's a good example of a product that has its own earning ratio different than the global settings that I have across the board. And finally, just a quick snapshot into how the redemption process works. So very clear call to action here during checkout. Actually, that arrow is a few pixels north of where I wanted it to be, but the ability to redeem loyalty points, very clear and concise. Next set of questions that merchants often pose, what does loyalty program mean to me? So A, how do I set up loyalty? Can I manually award or remove points for specific people? Is it possible to set up loyalty rewards for certain customer types, such as members, but maybe not others? How are points treated? Are they a discount, before tax and shipping, not unlike a coupon? Or is it a payment method toward the full order at the end of the experience? Can I arrange for points to expire? And does this feature cost extra? So some quick answers. Loyalty config is really intuitive, really simple, but it can also be done with the assistance of your rep. So you could reach out to whomever if you're interested in this feature. They can easily hold your hand, setting up things like the points earning ratio and what that translates to in terms of redemption. Points can be added or revoked quickly and effectively or efficiently right in the customer profile. So much the same way you can edit a customer and change their address or their email or even their name for that matter, you can just as easily add or take away loyalty points. Why you do that is your call, but that ability does exist. Points can be rewarded to and vary by customer type. And what I mean by that is if you have a concept where, hey, average Joe comes in off the web to my store for the first time, he hasn't really proven himself. And he hasn't demonstrated to me yet that he's worthy of earning points. Whereas maybe I have long-time members where this is a nice initiative, to kind of to thank them for their loyalty. Or maybe I do a search and I want to find folks who have been especially active this month, and I can kick out an email invitation to them and to kind of dive into the loyalty program. So what I'm getting at is that you do have the ability to kind of manipulate or massage the configuration to tie to certain customer types, but not others. There's also a very customizable application process, so I can determine whether I want customers to be able to redeem their loyalty points right during the shopping process, or do I want to have them kind of hold off and only be able to apply those points at the point of checkout? Again, like a gift certificate would be. There's also merchant-defined intervals or date ranges that can be configured to incentivize buyers for specific time periods. So, a common example might be, this month is Father's Day. Maybe I want to create a different earnings ratio during this month to incentivize people to come and shop and to earn points. And then maybe those points expire at a point. Or, maybe when, what's Father's Day? The 18th. So that following Monday, we can roll the earning structure back to what it was prior to June. So you do have the ability to kind of manipulate earnings and redemption ratios in specific time frames, and to an extent kind of monitor the success of that campaign. And lastly, this loyalty feature costs $50 a month. So potential big payout here at a very minimal upcharge. Some screenshots I want to run through before we actually take a look at this in the wild, just to kind of shed light on the ease of use. What you'll be doing is jumping in really quickly, kind of setting up your earnings ratio and kind of what that translates to in terms of dollars and cents. Because again, customers think of this in terms of dollars in hand, not what points are, because points are essentially meaningless in the scheme of things. But it's obviously critical to create the logic that equates to those dollars. Next screenshot, the ability to apply different loyalty ratios to different customer types. So I could have a scenario where certain types are a 0, meaning they aren't eligible for loyalty earnings, whereas others might be 100% of my global rules, which means they just play by the regular rules. And lastly, I have the ability to maybe meet somewhere in between. They're eligible but not fully vested. And last screenshot, just the ability real quickly to show how easy it is to revoke or to grant points to a customer. So again, I would just edit the customer, jump down to their loyalty section, and either take away or give points. A couple new additions actually as recent as this week. So those of you who are currently using loyalty, this may look new to you. The ability to search for customers based on points. So where this is nice is that I can search for folks between X and Y, and I can flip right around and maybe send off a bulk email just reminding people, hey, you have a balance here that's as good as cash in hand. So I want to just let you know about that again and just reinforce it. Right beneath that, we've added an ability to build logic into bulk emails. So for those of you who don't know, we have a mail wizard, essentially a bulk email tool built into Nexternal, which is great for email blasts, things like coupon campaigns or newsletters. And prior to this week, there wasn't the ability to dynamically reference individual people's loyalty point total. So now you have a concept where I can send off an email, personalized email to everybody, Dear Chris, it's pulling the first name of the customer. Just a reminder, you have X number of loyalty points. It's pulling dynamically from my point total, as well as hypothetically the other, 100 people in that recipient list. So it's a nice, personalized touch to remind people kind of where they stand with respect to those points. And lastly, what had not been here until recently was the ability to include loyalty points on the customer export. So now that's just going to be part of the export, just like their name and email and address and everything else. So let's just change gears now. We'll take a look at this first from the customer's perspective, and then we'll kind of change hats and jump into the back-end system and talk about config and the ability to manipulate ratios and redemption and things like that. So at this point, I'm going to change gears. Oh, let me scrap that. So our trusty old firstfairway.com, which at some point or another, most of you have probably seen. It's our demonstration, but it's fairly authentic. What I'll do is just jump into a category right away. And I'm logged in. So right out of the gate, I don't have to look very much farther than, in this case, the shopping cart footer to look at my eligible point total. In this particular case, it doesn't really jump off the page, but this could be stylized to pop a bit more, larger font, different font color. But it is here for easy reference, and because we have an always on-screen cart, as you guys know, this is visible pretty much from soup to nuts. So what I'd like to do right now is actually demonstrate the ability for you to kind of educate your customers on how the loyalty program works. So I mentioned earlier, there's the concept of creating a landing page that goes into detail about how to earn points, how to redeem points, and so forth. I took the liberty of adding a small link way down in the shopping cart footer for demonstration purposes. Obviously, this can be made much, much more visible. You could throw up an extra tab up here in your header. There could be a whole call to action down here on the left-hand content area. This particular case, it serves the purpose, but it might not be, as visible as you otherwise might like. So what I'm going to do here is actually click on the loyalty program info. And I created a really, really basic article just before this demonstration, just kind of outlining, hey, folks, here's how this works. You have the ability to earn 5 cents on every dollar you spend with our new loyalty program. No redemption minimums. Thanks for shopping with us. This can be as long or as simple as you'd like. As long as you have something, as long as you give your customers the ability to educate themselves on how this works, that's going to be a must, because I mentioned before, this is only going to be as effective as people are aware that it exists. So this is something that you want to rather consider in some capacity or another. Okay, moving on, I want to go to the golf bag section where I want to point out the ability in the event that you have an outlying product. So we'll take a look very soon at how to create the ratios and the redemption ratios. But in the event that I have an item that does not play by those rules, let's hypothetically say, I've got a bunch of products I'm looking to blow out, they're last year models, I kind of want to just move them. I can encourage customers to do so by, altering in a positive direction the ratio that this product is eligible for. Normally maybe this thing is only worth $1 in terms of points eventually. In this case, I bumped it up 5-fold. So you have the ability, in this case, in the short description, to add this information. Otherwise, a customer would not know that this particular product plays by a different set of rules than we outlined in our loyalty kind of overview description, let's say. So that's a big one. At this point, I want to demonstrate the ability to redeem the loyalty points that I've got, and there's 2 ways to do that. So I'm going to initiate one of them and actually execute the other, so we can have the ability to look at both. In the bottom of the cart, obviously I've got my point total again, and I also have the ability to redeem those loyalty points. And that's going to work much like a coupon does presently. I can activate or apply my $55 worth of points, which is based on my point total. And I can apply it right to this order at this point in time. And it's going to come off the order again, just like a coupon would. I'm not going to do that because I want to show you the second option, which is during checkout. So had I done the first, it would preclude me from showing you guys the second one. And the second one being right here on the checkout page, just like a coupon, just like a GC, I can say I want to redeem my loyalty points. So it's almost like a payment method at this point in the game. It's a little bit later than obviously had I done it during the shopping process. So you'll have the ability to determine where you want to make this available, whether it's just during shopping, just during checkout, or in this case both. Okay, I want to change gears now and jump into the back-end system. We'll talk about some of the configuration and some of the customization that you've got in terms of putting this initiative together. Excuse me. In the settings section within site options, there is an area specifically devoted to loyalty at the very bottom. So first thing that you want to do if you're interested is to activate the loyalty feature. And most merchants will also activate the ability to redeem right off the bat. You could argue, maybe we want to do like a slow burn in where for the first month we only allow earnings but not redemptions. That's up for debate, but you can decide which of the two you want to activate. The big thing is on the left-hand side here, the earnings ratio. And what this means is, how many points am I earning on the dollar? So if I spend $100, I'm earning a point per dollar. I've earned $100, and 100 points in that transaction. And at a penny on the point, I've in essence earned $1. I've spent $100. I've earned 100 points. At a penny on the dollar, I've earned $1 for that transaction. Needless to say, this can go in either direction you want, and they can play against each other. Maybe it's 2 points on the dollar, and it's 10 cents on the point. So it's going to take a little bit of diligence on your part to determine what's best for you. Everybody's got different price points, different margins. There's no blueprint for a successful loyalty program, but just know that this can be as customizable as you want in either direction. You can also have a minimum redemption value. You can argue whether or not this is I don't want to say ethical, but doable for you. Hey, we don't want people coming in and redeeming $1 on a given order. Maybe we want to make a $10 minimum. Entirely your call. Off on the right, there's some expiration options. There's expiration and activation options here. Where this is helpful is I can have a concept where points expire at a point in time. Hey, if somebody's sitting on 1,000 points and they earned those a year ago, they're going to go away. Again, entirely up to you. Some people say, hey, you've earned these, they're yours for a lifetime. Expiration date would, activation date would allow me to say, or days. I should mention too that this can be in days. These points are good for 365 days, or I can have a hard line, an actual date. Not unlike that, there's also activation days. So I can have a concept where, customer comes in today, places an order for $100, they earn 100 points, but those points aren't eligible for redemption until, July 1. So I can kind of build in a buffer where I earn the points, but there's a period of time in which I can't redeem them. Over on the left, there's a neat little feature here called Current Series. And what this allows me to do, I kind of pointed it out earlier in my questions slide about the ability to create a specific initiative in a window. So back to that Father's Day example. Now I can have a current series called Father's Day. I manipulate these earning ratios and redemption ratios, and then now out on the customer section, we'll actually be able to see that this customer earned these points in, during the Father's Day initiative or the Father's Day series. So it's a way to kind of bottle different campaigns and then, see which ones are effective and, what kind of volume it generated. And lastly, here's the option to dictate whether or not you want to apply loyalty as payment or as a discount. So in the order or out at checkout, much like a gift certificate would be. All right, I'm going to change gears now and jump over to a customer. We'll take a look at what this looks like from within the back end at that level. And then I'm going to search for myself because I know at minimum I have a few points in here. And pretty easy. Down at the bottom, once you activate the feature, there'll be a customer loyalty, little subsection, if you will, at the customer level. And I can really easily grant more points. Hey, Chris is a nice guy, which is, seldom ever spoken. I want to give him 100 points today. And I'm just going to say, great customer. Great guy. Better. and that's going to add itself right here. Just the same, you know, Chris is a nasty customer for whatever reason, rubs me the wrong way. I can also take these guys away. And there's also going to create a log. So in the event that I do, you know, revoke points, it's going to be documented so things don't disappear, which, you know, could potentially cause a bookkeeping issue. So it'll always be documented and the date for that as well. All right, let's take a look at customer types now and its influence on ratio. So out in the customer section, I've got a handful of types in here. And if I don't do anything, it just means that the customer type plays by the global rules that we configured earlier. In the event that, let's say, you know, we don't want average Joe to come in off the web just yet and be eligible for loyalty, I can jump in there and throw a 0. And by definition, that means loyalty is basically out of bounds for customers of that type. Let's hypothetically say that, you know, we want to give our club members a little extra bump. Let's do 125%. So now they're playing at a higher level than everybody else in between here, who's at, you know, essentially 100% means I'm going to honor the global rule, but there's no need to do that. So if you do want to bump in either direction, you can put in a percentage which will play off of the rules that we set up earlier. Hey, I want to talk about the articles that I alluded to before, where you're able to kind of outline the terms of the program. So again, you're not required to do this, nor would you be required to do it through an external. You could have your own external page out on your host that accomplishes the same thing, but there is value in showing you how to do this. A lot of people aren't aware that articles even exist. So pretty plug and play. Earlier, I'd created the article. I had named it, and all you do is really add the text. And then the beauty of this is that once the article exists, it has a specific link. And I can throw this link out wherever I need to. It could be on my homepage. It could be somewhere right within the cart. It could be on social media. It could be in an email blast. Hey, I want to introduce my customer base to the loyalty program. It's a new concept that I think they'll be excited about. And I can include a link to the page where it goes into more detail. Oh, you know, I should point out too, I mentioned it in my slide earlier, that you have the ability to uptick a product that plays by its own set of rules. The same is true at the category level. So let's hypothetically say I have, you know, an entire product line I just want to blow out. I can go to a category, and I have the ability to manipulate the loyalty ratio. So earlier in our configuration, we had said, you know, 1 point per dollar purchase. Maybe I want to come in here and say 5. And the benefit of this is that every product that lives within this category now has been upticked 5-fold. So I'm earning points at a higher rate when I buy these items in this category. And as we saw earlier in my screenshot, the same is true of products. We'll go ahead and open up this guy. And most of you probably know in the product section on page 2, there's an override section where, you know, usually like outliers live, you know, does it have its own shipping cost, things of that nature. And there's also a loyalty earnings ratio within it. So this one has been bumped up big time. Again, when the product warrants it, you can come in and either direction manipulate what would otherwise be the global rule that we configured in the settings section. And actually also too, while we're here, it's worth mentioning, back out on that product, there was a little snippet of information that indicated to the customer that it does play by its own set of rules. And all I did in that case was add it to the short description. So there's a few ways to do that. I'll actually flip back to the store really quickly, and we'll track down that bag again. And it was this guy. And I should point out too, that short description, that same little snippet could live out on this page, you know, to draw eyeballs right from the get-go. In this particular case, it just happens to be on only within the detail page. You could work it into the product name. If you were inclined, you could work in something into the product image. You know, you could add it to the description field. There's no shortage of places where you can add what would otherwise be this language into the product. I just happen to choose a short description. Okay, I think that just about does it. So we're a little ahead of schedule. At this point in time, I would open up the floor to any questions, so feel free to pose some right through the GoToWebinar interface. Okay, I see one here, which is actually a neat idea that I should have raised myself. So can customers buy into the loyalty program? And I think I understand where this is going. So short answer is yes. And I think what this person is asking is, can I require that the folks that are interested in loyalty, can I require that they pay a fee to, in essence, become a member, at which point the benefit of being a member is the ability to earn points. A good example is, years and years ago when e-commerce was in its infancy, I paid $5 to become a lifetime member on a soccer equipment website. And from that point on, I've had the ability to earn points. I've earned, a ton of points over time. I've redeemed a ton of points in time. And it's a neat process because I paid $5, 15 years ago, and I've more than gotten that back. But at the same time, you begin to think about how many times that's been done. It's also a small little alternative revenue trickle for the merchant. You can have an item in the store called membership, and it costs $5 or any amount. In theory, that could even be a subscription where it renews every year. So, you pay a fee annually. In this case, it was a lifetime fee. And in doing so, I add that product to my cart. Right then and there, my customer type is elevated to member, and then my loyalty program is only set up to benefit members. So everybody else coming in off the web of any other type are not eligible for loyalty until they, quote unquote, buy the membership product and then graduate to member status. So yeah, that'd be very, very easy to set up, and it's a really creative idea. Next question. Can points be redeemed? Oh, I see. Okay, so the question is, I think anyway, can points be earned and redeemed in the same order? Transaction, I mean, not sequence. So the short answer is no. Let's say I come in right now, initially, my cart is empty, I have no points, I have no loyalty history, and if I spend $100, that $100 isn't mine to redeem until the order has been placed and paid for. So yeah, you can't earn and redeem right then and there in the same transaction. I've got to complete the order for me to get those. Excuse me. Let's see. Can you remind us how we can get started with the loyalty program? So unfortunately, I can't give you a screenshot of what it looks like, because for me to do that, I'd have to log into an active user system, which I can't do. Our demonstration already has it turned on, but I'll flip back to the demo and show you where exactly it can. So in the settings section within site options, we'll edit that. And down at the extreme bottom of site options, there's a customer loyalty section. And within there, I'm going from memory here, I apologize, because I can't, again, show you a live environment, but I believe that there is some language there, outlining how it works. It's $50 per month, and naturally you can reach out to your account rep at that point in time, and we can most definitely hold your hand and kind of talk about what initiative might be best for you, how your points, again, I should point out that the purpose of this call is not to tell you, how or what your rewards program should look like, but rather just expose to you the functionality so you can come to the conclusion of what's best for you, and then from there we can help you implement it. So short answer is settings, site options, you can activate loyalty right here, and then with the help of your rep, or if you felt like flying solo, you can configure this and let it rip. And I'm struggling here with the question window. I apologize. It's a very small sliver, so I've got to scroll down to see each individual line. Okay, I think that just about does it in terms of questions. So I'll just point out too, if anybody does have any follow-up questions, don't hesitate to reach me or your account rep, and we'll go from there. So thanks again to everybody who attended, and we look forward to seeing you on our next webinar. Thanks.